All right, I'll just give it one more minute and then we'll get started, and then people can jump in if they come join us. Nope, that's not the right share. That's how I'm gonna dig a drainage ditch at my house. Hold on a second here. All right, well, we'll just get started, and if folks join us, that's fine. So the key dates, you already have this information just about when we're going. I'll show some more detail about each one of these days in a second. I just wanted to highlight the cost because I'm starting to get numbers now. So I've signed the contract for the flights, which came in less than last year. So that's good, not a whole lot less. So anyway, I don't think it definitely won't be above 1,800 per participant. And I just don't know if it'll be significantly lower than that, or if it'll just be like, $100 lower than that. That'll be starting to be billed, I believe, in November, but I have to confirm that. And then you'll get it like split up. Again, I don't deal with a ton of any of the business office stuff. So if you have any sort of like tuition assistance or anything like that, the business office are the people to talk to, Mariah, about that. And then, yeah, they'll handle all those questions about costs. The chaperones. So these are the 8 chaperones we have going on the trip this year, and I appreciate all of you who offered to do that. It's a great group. It's been fun to, like, some of the kids were really excited to hear. They're like, oh yeah, my dad's going on the trip, or my mom's going, whatever. I'm not saying all of them were excited, but it was fun to see that some of them were really excited they were going. So I have to be determined. The staff chaperones, it comes down to trying to balance, be equitable in terms of like who's been on a bunch of trips. I can admit this person. There we go. And so I don't have the names for those other 3 people. Andy Zimmer is going to be the contact person on the ground down there who's done this trip before. So he and I were on it last year. As I've mentioned, I think before to all of you, I've done this trip many, many times. I love it. It's just this year does not work out for my family schedule for me to be down there. So I get a year off of the trips, but I'll be at school all those days, like subbing for people's classes. I'll be teaching like 4th and 5th grade or whatever, specials. And then the students, 35 out of the 37 students, which is great. Any questions about chaperones, or we'll talk about duties in a second, a little bit more, but. All right. We are staying at this awesome resort and marina. The reason this is nice, other than just it looks great and it's a beautiful location and everything like that, and it's huge, and they do a good job of kind of putting our rooms together, keeping us away from, it's not a really busy time of year down there in general. So every time I've been down, this hotel has not been that full, but there are other people there, celebrating or enjoying vacations and things. So we try to be, stay out of their way a little bit. We have this huge group kind of descends upon the pools. So we try to break it up into like, all right, we can be at the pool for the half hour this time. And then there's like a volleyball court, whatever, at night. But the nice part about this is they also have a marina there. So we do all our snorkeling excursions right out of there. We don't have to, we just walk 100 yards, and it's right there. We used to have to take a bus to go to do the snorkeling and everything. And then all of our meals are here also. I'll go through the itinerary in a second, but they really do a nice job. They put us in our own area for the meals and everything. And the food is great. There's all sorts of options, try to making sure every meal has like vegetarian options, and there's always a meat or a chicken and a salads and pastas and all sorts of stuff. The kids tend to get, this is a trip where you're outside a lot, and it's hot, and it's really important. We talk about staying hydrated and staying fueled up for all the excursions that we're doing. So and this is an upgrade. I don't know. I don't know if any of you have kids who did this trip like 4 years ago, or like before COVID, basically. We stayed at I'll just say not quite as nice of a setup here, and they are really great. They accommodate us very nicely. So that's the little couple pictures of where we're staying. I want to go over a couple things. A reminder about the forms I sent home. So on the if you got this link for the Zoom, then you got the other link that had the behavior form, and I'm only missing a couple students for that behavior form. And to be honest with you, I don't know if any of them are on this call right now, so it doesn't really matter if I say that. But the other thing I need is the Google form for every chaperone and student who's going. Please take the time to fill that out. That has things like, you know, shoe size for snorkel, for the fins or whatever, but also has important things like any dietary restrictions we need to be aware of. If there are extreme, I would say, dietary restrictions, and we've had that in the past, that's totally fine. We can put you in contact with the kitchen there, and they can talk to you about how things are prepared and what sort of mixing of things happens, or, you know, everything from gluten allergies to whatever, anything. We've had it all on the trip. So we've also had a student who packed all their own food, dry goods, you know. So we can work on that individually if you have any questions about that. But that's what the form has, is all that emergency contact information, etc. If you're a chaperone, I don't need to know your medical. You can just write on there, I will handle my own medical stuff. We're not going to be worrying about your medicine for you, of course. In a second, I'm going to flip to a rough itinerary of what every day looks like and kind of talk through the days. And then if you have questions anywhere along the way, please just stop me or put them in the chat, and I'll try to look in the chat. So let me transition to, oops. All right. So I'll share this document with everybody when it gets completely finalized. The couple of things are highlighted are just for me, because I don't have the flight number. We have it booked. We have all the tickets booked and everything as of this weekend. Hold on, let me minimize my screen here so I can see that. All right. I don't have the flight number, but I do. These times are correct. So we leave bright and early on Tuesday morning, right after Memorial Day. We're asking the kids, I know it's normally, if you were traveling with just your family, then maybe, you know, well, if you're like my wife, you like to get there like an hour beforehand and really push it. But we're 2 hours beforehand, just to be super sure we got everybody there and nobody missed their alarm. And knock on wood, every year we've not missed a person at the airport, and everybody's gotten there on time. So it's an early flight, but that allows us to have a full day when we get down there of activities on that first day. So flying in and out Detroit Metro Airport, Delta flight, like it says here, flying into Fort Lauderdale. It's a direct flight. On the plane, they will seat us all together, and it is, well, mostly all together, but it's alphabetical. So the kids are like, oh, do I get to pick who I sit by? Whatever. I was like, no, Delta just does, like, you have a plane ticket, it's your seat number. We're not switching. That's where you're sitting. So that hasn't been a huge issue in the past. I'll say it right now that we allow them to bring technology with them. So that's, you know, if they're on their phones or whatever on the flight, that's fine. Or if they want to watch a movie, that's totally fine. I'll talk a little more about the cell phone policy in a minute. But anyway, land in Fort Lauderdale, we all meet up and collect our baggage, and then meet the charter bus. Charter bus is big enough to hold all 47, that number right? Yeah, 35 plus 12. All 47 plus more. There's plenty of space on the charter bus. So we all hop on there. Then what we've done, this isn't finalized. In the past, there's been a meal that we stopped for, because it's a little bit of a hike from Fort Lauderdale down to the Everglades Holiday Park, which is our first stop. It's a little bit of a drive, so we definitely need to break for lunch at some point. And again, about dietary things, if something from Panera, I have the kids submit an order earlier, you know, we do it probably 2 weeks before we go, and I do a Google form, and then I contact Panera down there and put in a bulk order, and it's ready for us when we get there, and we all sit on picnic tables outside, or you can sit inside, whatever, and eat their lunch. But if it's, you know, the case that you can't, your child can't eat something from Panera, that's fine. It's, you know, as these always are, it's kind of in sort of a strip mall sort of area, and if there's other places we can go to get something for them, we'll do that. That's fine. So just reach out individually about those kind of things. So we have lunch, then we hop on the bus again for a shorter ride to the Everglades Holiday Park. That's going to be where we're going to do an airboat tour, followed by a gator show, an alligator show. So these people, I don't even know if the show is still on, but there used to be this show on like, you know, Animal Planet, or one of those channels called like the Gator Boys or something. And it's really who these people are. I mean, the real people are doing it. So they rescue nuisance alligators and things from people's yards or wherever, and use them to educate people about the Everglades, about the alligators and all that stuff. So it's kind of a fun, anyway, that's our first stop, zipping through the Everglades. From there, then we do have kind of a longer drive to finally get to our destination of the Key Largo. Well, sorry, it's not called Key Largo. It used to be called the Key Largo Hotel. Now it's the Reef House Hotel on Key Largo. So Key Largo is the key where we will spend most of our time. We arrive there, we'll kind of check in. This is a good time to talk about rooms. Chaperones will all have their own individual room. And the students will be broken up into rooms. There are boys' rooms and girls' rooms, whatever they identify as. And it's typically 3 or 4 people per room. And that hasn't been an issue in the past. Somebody kind of laughed when I told them that the other week, that they're like, what, 4 people stay? And it's, double, it's 2 queen bed rooms. I will say my son's a, 6'3", 200-pound senior at Pioneer, and he plays water polo. And when they go to tournaments, the 4 boys stay in 2 queen beds. And so that we've never had an issue in the past with the middle schoolers. We do say like everybody has to have the opportunity to be in a bed. So like you can't say, oh, I'm going to sleep in the shower or whatever, or on the floor. No, everybody has a spot. You can divide. You can put pillows between you or do whatever. Or, sleep head to toe or whatever you want. It hasn't really been a huge issue in the past, and we do let them choose who they would not. So it doesn't work to be like, pick your rooms, but we have them pick a month or so ahead of time or whatever. They submit a list of like who they would like to room with, who would be great to room with. And then who would you be like, okay, rooming with, and maybe not the best. And then we try, but we don't say, who do you not want to room with? Because we're really trying to put together the best room for them to have fun and be with people they want to be with. This is, as I said, I don't know if it was curriculum night or whatever, that this is not like putting together a seating chart. So I'm not trying to separate 2 people who talk a lot together. If they're friends, yes, we're going to try to get them in a room together. It just doesn't always work that everybody's going to get their best friends, but we make sure everybody at least gets, 1 or 2 people from their list, and we'll try to maximize that. So the boys' rooms and the girls' rooms are usually they've been on different floors. I don't know how to describe the hotel. The inside's kind of like open air. So we can look up and see like if I was in my room on floor 4 or whatever, I can go out in the sort of right outside the door of my room, and I can look up and I can see the walkway around floor 5. And anyway, the staff, chaperones and staff have sort of patrols that they'll do and have rooms they're assigned to at night to, make sure lights are out, make sure everybody's in the room. And you're kind of the point person for that room if they have any issues. All right. So we'll have a little orientation meeting when we get there, kind of give the kids the lay of the land down there, and we'll have dinner, our first dinner together. The rules down there for dinner time, that's the time we do not allow any technology. So there are no phones allowed at dinner. What we say usually is like, if we see a phone at dinner, you're gone. The phone's gone till the next meal. So I promise this has not been an issue in the past. I think once we've taken a phone maybe, but once we tell them that first night, okay, this is the time you're sitting at tables of 10 people and it's a buffet style food, you can talk to each other. Like, and we make all sorts of different rules. Like some nights we'll say, okay, you have to find a table that has somebody from one person from 5 different rooms or whatever, and try to, get them to mix it up a little bit, who they're eating lunch and breakfast and dinner with. A little bit of free time that night, kind of give them, like I said, there's plenty of different spaces, and the staff and chaperones will be set up at all these different stations. There's like a beach volleyball place. If the kids just want to chill in their rooms, that's fine too. If they want to hang out in the pool for a little bit, that's fine. If they want to hang out down, there's like just hammocks and lawn chairs. You saw the pictures earlier. They can just do that. So staff's all around. We have a curfew at night. They're in their room at 9:30 and lights out at 10. Again, with the technology at night, and this hasn't been an issue in the past, we're not checking, I can't scramble their phone signals or anything. So if they have a phone and they're in their rooms, they could be on their phones. What we'll find is, and sometimes have to ask the kids, like if someone's really tired the next day, and well, did you sleep? Like, what were you doing last night that caused you to be so worn out? So trying to encourage decisions that will make it so they can last this whole trip. Anyway, so that's a first day. I'll pause for a second. Are there any questions about Any of that? Okay. So get a good night's sleep, and we wake up bright and early on day 2. Wednesday, wake up 6:30, no breakfast. And again, the breakfast is a walkable. It's sort of I don't know, 50 yards from the hotel pool, and it's in a separate building, but we have our own floor that we eat on. We're all by ourselves up there. This beautiful view out into the ocean. It's pretty cool. From there, we're going to drive. It's a super short drive. I mean, you could potentially walk, but the overseas highway is a pretty busy highway. So we take the bus that we have. We have a bus at our disposal the whole time. We take a bus pretty much across the road to John Pennekamp State Park. And there they have some time to if they want to go snorkel a little bit on their own, we'll kind of guide them in this little bay that's right there. And there's some sunken like cannons they can see, and there's all sorts of there's barracuda and various fish you'll see around. Nothing too crazy, a lot of seaweed. So just want to get them used to their snorkel gear and everything like that, which they will be getting as part of this trip. If they submit that form, they'll pick which color goggles and mask. The fins we don't need because the boat will supply the fins for everybody. And I just need a rough like number of how many men's size 12s do we have, how many, whatever, so they can just be prepared. So they have a little bit of free time. Then we'll dry off and hop on their glass bottom boat and take a tour out to the coral reef. So this is kind of their introduction to the coral reef and a lot of education about the coral reef on a big boat, again, with other people, general public people, but like it says, the boat has a glass bottom, 2 hulls that are glass, and the kids can sit around and they'll stop over the reef and they'll talk about everything that's happening down there. And a lot of this trip you're going to hear about is educational about what's good and bad, what's happening what's happened to the reef over the years, and a lot of the efforts that are being taken to try and stop some of the the coral bleaching that's happening and the dying of the coral. That's crazy. I've done this, like I said, 6 times now, I think, or something. And it's really changed a lot, even in the times I've been over the last, I think the first time I went was like 8 years ago. And I got a chance to actually snorkel this summer off the southern coast of Cuba. And it was amazing to see the difference even between the reefs around there that don't get visited very often compared to the very public reefs that are off of Key Largo. And anyway, so we learned about some of that efforts going on to try and help things down there. You're out on the boat for a little while. I think it's maybe you're going 4 miles offshore, something like that. Some of the excursions we've done have been as many as 6 miles offshore. Then we'll drive back to the reef house, have lunch. And then the kind of cool part is, so they got to see through the glass bottom what it looks like. Then at afternoon, that's our first excursion out in the water. So we have our own boat. That one, it's just us. We have the whole boat to ourselves. We have a captain and a guide that's out there. And we'll head out to one of the destinations that they pick, kind of based on what conditions are like and based on what we've done in the past. You'll see when we do excursion number 2, like they'll try to take us to a different place each time. So that leaves right from the hotel as well, which is great. We're out there for most of the afternoon. We come back, shower up, have dinner. Then we walk, let's say 200 yards to this other building. And we have this presentation from the Mote Marine Laboratory that's on site. And they talk to it, and they're actually growing coral there under these crazy conditions to try to simulate coral reproduction, which only happens when it's like a full moon. So they're recreating full moon, all this stuff. They learn all about it, and it's really hands-on. It's just our group with usually a young person that's working there. That night is pretty packed. We don't have a lot of time for hanging out at the hotel afterwards. So it's basically kind of right to bed, lights out. Here, I realize it's 6:54, and some of you may have to go to this 7 o'clock meeting. So I'm going to go kind of quick. So Thursday, again, same routine, wake up, breakfast. Now this one, we're going to spend the morning driving down to Marathon Key, which is south of Key Largo by, I don't know, it's maybe 50, 60 miles, but it takes a long time because the highway is like a highway with stop signs and 1 or 2 lanes. And anyway, so it takes us an hour to get down there. So, and then we have a guided tour of the turtle hospital where they rescue sea turtles. Kids usually love this. There's tons of turtles there, and all sorts of, some of them that are going to be lifers and aren't going to be able to be rehabilitated and let out into the wild, and some of them are. They learn all about that, all about the things affecting the sea turtles down there, and get a really hands-on, but without actually touching the turtles. If you want to touch the turtles, go to Cuba where they'll let you touch the turtles, but it feels wrong because everything you do here tells us you're not supposed to touch the turtles. But they have this exact same thing in Cuba, and they're like, yeah, go ahead and touch them. I was like, no, I don't think I'm supposed to touch. Anyway, we'll drive back. We'll have lunch at the hotel, and then we'll have our second snorkel excursion that afternoon. Same idea. Come back that night. There should be a little bit of free time that night. Depends on when we get back and eat dinner and all that stuff. Lights out. All right. Last day. So we're waking up. We're packing up our rooms. We're having breakfast. This day is a little bit in flux right now because we're actually flying back earlier than we were last year. So this 5:10 flight that gets us in at 8:14. Last year we got in really late, and I worry about that only because one year, knock on wood, one year our flight got canceled and we had to stay in a hotel overnight, and it was this whole thing. And I had to share a room with John Huber, who was the head of school at the time, and it was crazy. It worked out and the kids had a great story, but I would rather not have that last flight out at night for the folks down there. I'll just be like crossing my fingers that whole day and hoping that flights don't get canceled. So anyway, we go to this little trail. It's back up on the mainland in the Everglades, and just see some alligators out in the wild, which was kind of fun. Drive to the airport. There's going to be a little bit of downtime at the airport there. I'm trying to figure out how to schedule this day in terms of when lunch or a meal would happen. This would be the only thing that we say the kids need to bring money for or plan for, is a meal at the airport. I don't know if you want to call it lunch or dinner or whatever. I mean, a 5 o'clock flight, whatever. We need some sort of food that afternoon. So we do say they should bring, and of course they can bring other money if they want souvenirs or whatever, but everything else is paid for, tips, everything. They don't have to bring, don't have to worry about any of that. It's just this one meal at the airport. So again, the chaperones will be assigned a group of kids that they're responsible for at the airport. This happens both departure and when we come, or whatever, both departures, I guess. So the kids are not just allowed to like roam the airport by themselves. Oh, my free meeting will upgrade in 10, all right, we have 10 minutes, great. So, and then we're back. We asked you to pick them up at the airport between 8:30 and 9. And again, I'll get that flight number for you. Let me stop there. I went through this really quickly. Are there questions I can answer in the next 10 minutes?
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, it sounds like you'll be doing, a lot of activities, and like Desmond, my son, he gets hungry a lot. So I'm just curious, like, how I should prepare, or should he, generally the kids carry like a backpack and maybe have a water, and how are they having snacks, or what, how are they managing their hunger with so many activities?
So we'll talk a lot about the water bottle idea and not buying water. Mm-hmm. Then other snacks, like if they want to pack their own snacks, what I'll say, I heard that, of course, there's always like someone that says, oh, can I order pizza at night? I get really hungry. And no one's ever honestly left the meals. So the meals are all you can eat buffet, like eat as much as you want. Mm-hmm. And there's desserts, there's food, there's so many food options. It's really amazing. And I've never had someone who's just like, I'm dying to eat, at 9 o'clock at night saying they're so hungry. If that does, so we don't let them order. Their rooms are set up so they cannot order room service. Mm-hmm. But if there was some sort of extreme, I would say, first of all, bring granola bars or anything. If they want to pack those, yes, they can have their backpack with them. That's all fine. I haven't gone out in the past and bought like tons of other snacks. It just hasn't been necessary, to be honest with you. Like I said, the worst case.
So just tell them to eat whenever the food is there, and it sounds like there'll be lots. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a restaurant. There are other restaurants on site, and there's a tiki bar that there's people eating burgers and fries everywhere. There's tons of food around. There's vending machines, I guess, if they really wanted something like that.
Great, thank you.
Yep, and go ahead if you just want to unmute yourself. Is that Jing?
Yes. Hi. Just have a quick question. So, did any kids ever get motion sickness on the glass bottom boat?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, because I asked because we did that once as a family, and when the boat parked in the middle of the ocean. Half of the boat were like throwing up at that point. So I'm just wondering, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, maybe it was like a really particular bad day for that trip, but I just don't know, what we can do to prepare for that if
Yeah.
that's gonna be the
So
case.
we will have Dramamine with us, as well as just your basic kind of Advil, Tylenol type things. I did ask on that form if it's okay to give them Dramamine for motion sickness. They're also welcome to pack their own if you know you have a history of this and there's something else that works better for them. And then the worst, not the worst case, but the final sort of check there is also that the boat has that, they have that on board because they're used to that happening. I will say, hopefully haven't had the situation where the whole boat is experiencing that. I don't want to jinx, I don't want to like focus on bad things potentially happening, but there is a scenario where if it's bad enough, if the waves are high enough, they won't go out that day. And then we would just scramble a little bit. So somebody's got to go. Yeah, that's fine. Totally sorry. So anyway,
Thank you.
that's, if Dramamine's okay, please just check it on that form and let us know, and we'll, and then also, if something does happen to it and we say like, can you take Dramamine, and it said no, and then they're really feeling bad, like we'll have our phones and stuff. I might just call you and say, is it okay to give them Dramamine? But I do realize it's also one of those things that's better to do ahead of time. So if you know you're going to get sick,
Right.
you should probably do it before you get on the boat. And that's just going to be, we'll talk to the kids about it. Some of them don't know because they haven't done this type of thing before. So
Okay, great. Thank you.
yeah, sure.
Bill?
Yes.
So do they need some sort of ID? I know it's a domestic flight. Do they need a passport, some sort of ID? No.
No, they don't need anything. The tickets will all be in their names, and it's all under one reservation. Yeah, so no, they don't need any sort of ID.
Okay, and then they'll do a carry-on baggage only.
Oh, sorry, the
right?
bags. Yeah, right. So there's a checked bag that they can do, just your standard checked bags. I don't know, what is it, 50 pounds or whatever, 60 pounds, whatever the normal Delta checked bag is. That's where they should store all their, clothes and their snorkel and mask. They're going to get that ahead of time, a few weeks ahead of the trip. So that one checked bag and then one personal item, backpack, something like that. And that's been,
and
yeah, there have been kids who bring a laptop. Again, it's not something that we're policing a whole lot, especially on the flights. If they want to watch movies, great.
And then what's the supervision around when they're in the water?
So in the water, ultimately the boat is responsible for all the people on the boat. There's double, triple head counts that are done, all the time. Oh, in the water, everyone has to wear a inflatable life preserver. You don't have to inflate it. It's one you can just blow on. So, but I find even with it uninflated, there's a little bit of air in there. Like it's hard to, I mean, not hard to sink, but there's some buoyancy even without that. So they can blow it up if they want to. But everybody has to wear that. Also, I'll say nobody ever has to jump in the water. And this is, we really like, Annie Zimmer and I are, basically have fish. Like, I love the water, perfectly comfortable helping people and all that stuff, as will be the other staff that are on the trip for the most part. But we're never going to push someone off the boat and say, you have to go in, you have to go in. So there have been times where people, for whatever reason, are just like, I'm not comfortable, and we'll try to get them to experience some part of it if they can, if they're even willing to just like dangle their feet in the water a little bit and kind of, so we'll help them along. But when we're out in the water, as much as you try to do a buddy system or something, it's really hard. You can't even tell who's who. I mean, you see all the people, but you're all wearing masks and you can't, who's that? Is that so-and-so? So it's ultimately like, it's the count of people that we're responsible for maintaining. We do say to them, like, stay in a group, and the boat will yell if one kid goes off on their own or something, like, and I'm guilty of that. I got called back last year because I got too far from the boat, but anyway.
And it sounds like after lights out, there's no real supervision.
So after lights out, we're not doing any other room checks. There are security people that work at the hotel that are roaming around, like whatever. And I'm like, we all have our phones on, not on silent, whatever, for the night. And if the hotel finds any of our kids, they call us. Again, I've only once had that happen, and it was a sleepwalker that left a room, and that was back in DC. It wasn't even the Florida trip. So, they're in their rooms, and our rooms are right by. So like the boys' rooms, then the male chaperones are right kind of next to their rooms. Anything else? And I have the 2 minutes left on my 40-minute account. I can restart the Zoom if we need to, but I know somebody dropped off for the next 7 o'clock meeting. If you want to talk individually, also, I'm happy to do that about anything. I know we didn't get quite the numbers I was looking for, but I don't know. Maybe people have more questions as it gets closer. I realize this is also way off in the future. Okay, well, if nobody else has any questions, again, please reach out to me at any time. I'll be in contact. There's not a whole lot else I'm going to send in terms of forms you need to fill out. It's really just that Google form right now, and then we should be good to go for a while. And you'll start to hear more from me. Probably in the late February timeframe, somewhere around there. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye.